Hello YouTube and fellow DC Comic fans, I'm Keith One Shot, and today we are going to do a quick little review on Batman Detective Comics issue 981, which is the final issue on James Tynion IV's Detective Comics run on Batman, which has been very amazing. Detective Comics has been killing it under his run, and I'm sad to see it go, but this is the finale. This is Batman Eternal finale, the final issue in its run, and in this story we have Kate Kane, Batwoman, who is leading the colony, and she's pretty much the figurehead of that group. And then we see Tim Drake, who is taken over by Brother Eye and the OMAC Project, and he's kind of wearing this like Batman OMAC suit. And so pretty much like where they're both at right now is where they're at in the future, but in the present day timeline, because of that Batman of Tomorrow future Tim Drake who came back, and then Ulysses Armstrong gathered that information and kind of created that future within the present and created Brother Eye now, and that's taking over Tim Drake. So he's pretty much his future self, but he's being controlled by the OMAC Project, and he's being misled by Ulysses Armstrong. So eventually Tim Drake tells Batwoman about that future where she kills Bruce Wayne and she leads the colony, and then that's why he then wants his revenge against her, his future self who came back during the Detective Comics run of James Tynion IV. Okay, but then Stephanie Brown, spoiler, actually hacks into the system because her and Orphan and Batman are making their way into the tower where the OMAC Project and Brother Eye is, and Stephanie Brown hacked into the system, and she tries to tell Tim Drake that he's been shown half-truths so far. He's been misled down this path by Ulysses Armstrong, and Ulysses tries to fight back, and he says that this isn't going to happen, and he sends all of his OMACs here at the tower to kill all of them to try to stop them. And then we see Batman fighting Azrael and Batwing because they're being taken over by the OMAC Project as well, and so Batman's doing his best to fight the two of them, and then Cassandra Cain, Orphan, helps Batman in the fight, and Batman says that she doesn't have to be here in this fight, but then Cassandra tells him that she saw a future version of herself, or an alternate version of herself from a different world, and she's not doomed to be bad, because she feared that she was doomed to be evil and that she was a bad guy in nature, but she was shown an alternate future in one of the past issues in this particular run of Detective Comics, that she was once Batgirl and that she can become that again. And Stephanie Brown was also shown in that same issue that she was once Batgirl. So they've seen the potential that was taken away from them in this alternate timeline stuff that's happened within DC Rebirth and the New 52 in general. Okay, and then in the next issue, or the next thing, we see the actual future and what happened that night. And what actually happened is Bruce Wayne got together with his cousin Kate Kane, and he told her that he was actually dying from radioactive isotopes when he was constructing the Brother Eye satellite, and that he's paying the price for it right now, but he couldn't stand it anymore. He says that he doesn't want to be Batman anymore, and he doesn't want to burden the rest of the Bat family with Batman anymore, and that Batman no longer has to be eternal. He feels like it was great when he was Batman, and that if he saved Gotham City, he needed this for himself, to see the world the way that, you know what I mean, the way it would work for him. And he's like, if by that as a byproduct I saved Gotham City once or twice, then I'm really grateful for that. But he says that he doesn't have to be Batman anymore, and then he says that the idea of Batman holds back the rest of the Bat family. So after he dies, he wants Brother Eye to erase all the files on Batman and self-destruct the Brother Eye Project and the OMAC Project, because he no longer believes in that, in this old man Batman in the future. So he wants to shut it all down, and he says that he recorded a final message that he was going to tell the rest of the Bat family why he did this and what was going to happen, and that Brother Eye was going to deliver it to the family after he died, and that he wanted Kate to kill him so President Amanda Waller would kind of get off her back, and she would get off the rest of the Bat family's back, because she's been going after them for years, and she's actually going after Batman. So after Bruce dies and Kate Kane kills her, Amanda Waller should back off, allowing the rest of the Bat family to go to Ivy League like Tim Drake is, because Batman in that future was proud that Tim Drake actually got away, and he was helping to build the future. But then when he got killed by Kate Kane, Brother Eye actually deleted those files and so he never showed that to the rest of the Bat family, and he never self-destructed because Brother Eye felt like it wasn't done with its mission, so it continued on, and then it misled that Tim Drake from the future into thinking that Kate Kane killed Bruce in an evil way, and that's why he was even being manipulated as well. So it's crazy that even that future Tim Drake is being manipulated, and this current day Tim Drake that we follow, in this story, is also being manipulated by Ulysses Armstrong. But Stephanie Brown is fighting to keep Tim alive, and she's fighting to give Tim full control again over himself and over his own future. Ulysses Armstrong's trying to hold him back, but Stephanie eventually gives Tim control of his own body, and then she attacks Ulysses Armstrong personally, and then the OMAC project kind of starts shutting down, and Azrael and Batwing get return of their body, and the rest of the colony soldiers get return of their body as well. And Stephanie Brown has a conversation with Batman where she says that they'll never see eye to eye, but she too saw that alternate version of herself where she was Batgirl. So she recognizes the strength in the Batman symbol, and that she has respect for them. But she ultimately tells Bruce that we need to save the day right now, so let's get focused. So Batman has the colony soldiers get anybody out of the building because the building is falling down. Tim actually zaps him and Batwoman out of the building because he still had the powers temporarily from the OMAC project, and he decides to shut it down, but after everybody got out of the building. And then Tim Drake and Batwoman have a conversation about how they've kind of both been living these futures in the present that's been controlled and dictated by other people's views and other people's desires on what they should be, and that Tim has been following this dream that he kind of needs to let go of because this is a dream that he realizes now is foolish, and that's the OMAC project and the Belfry and all that stuff, and having the Batman Eternal. And so he asks Batwoman, like, what do we do from here? What do we do from now? And that she tells him, I don't know, Tim, I really don't. I guess we'll have to figure it out just like everyone else does at a time. So they have to decide their own future is what happens in that, and that's pretty cool. And then later on, it's 3 weeks later, we see Bruce Wayne sitting down in a restaurant with his cousin Kate Kane, and they have a conversation, and he says that, or she tells Bruce how Bruce's mother and her father, which their brother and sister, used to come to this restaurant, and they didn't always see eye to eye on things perfectly, but they always came here, and they met up, and they were family, and they had a discussion, and she hopes that her and Bruce can have that same type of relationship, and that this can be their neutral ground, just like it was for their parents. And Bruce ultimately decides that this is a great idea, and he does tell her that he would like her to keep being, Batwoman ultimately, and that maybe her, he wants the colony to be shut down, but if she still wants to keep being Batwoman, then he's cool with that. She tells Bruce that Luke, who is Batwing, Luke Fox, who's Lucius Fox's son, he's Batwing. He's deciding to step down from the Batwing mantle for a little while so he can work on his company, and that he can make sure that any remnants of Brother Eye is no longer activated, and that we can't get that OMAC project again in the present day. They try to shut it down because he's very tech savvy. And then she tells Bruce that Jean-Paul Valley, Azrael, had a conversation with Cyborg, and he's thinking about doing something different. We actually know that Azrael is joining Cyborg and a bunch of other people in a Justice League team, which I believe is being written by Joshua Williamson, which is going to be Justice League Odyssey, and you've been seeing some of that happening right now in Justice League No Justice, which issue 3 came out the same week, which was a few days ago, as this Detective Comics issue. So that's what Jean-Paul Valley is going to be doing. And then meanwhile, we see that Kate Kane is still going to be Batwoman with the help of her father, but her father's kind of been pardoned by the government a little bit for some of his crimes that he did with the colony. But so the two of them are working together, but they don't have all the budgets and the high-tech military stuff, and she's going to fight forward, not from the colony perspective, but she's going to fight as Batwoman. Okay, we then go to Dr. Leslie Tompkins' clinic, where we see Cassandra Cain, who is orphaned. She meets up with Leslie Tompkins, who is offered a apartment or a room in her clinic, and Cassandra wants to go there, and Leslie tells Cassandra that Bruce said she's always welcome at the Wayne Manor, and she can come and stay as long as she wants, and she can go back to there. Cassandra says that's great, but she does want to kind of figure some things out here, and she ultimately ends up having Barbara Gordon in her room, which is Batgirl, obviously, and she even acknowledges that she's Batgirl. And Barbara Gordon kind of teaches Cassandra how to articulate, how to read, and how to write better, because that was one of the problems. She was like a mute. And so now, eventually, after Barbara helps her out, by the end of it, they're reciting Shakespeare, which is ironic because then we see outside of her door as she's reciting the Shakespeare, but Cassandra and Barbara don't see it. It's actually Clayface, which we thought that he was dead after Batwoman shot him, and that was part of the controversy in the whole Batwoman thing towards the end of this run in general. But Clayface is actually alive, and he left a note on Cassandra's door that has the clay sticking it to the door, so she's got to know it's from him. And then he leaves and enters a car where we see Dr. Victoria October in the car, and he tells her that let's get out of Gotham City. If we don't leave now, I'm going to change my mind, and that Cassandra's in a good place and she's going to be fine. So that's cool that Clayface kind of has that with Dr. Victoria October, so that's really cool. We then go back to Wayne Manor and we see Tim Drake packing up his car, and it's him and Stephanie Brown plan on going to an Ivy League university so Tim can have his life and do his learning and do what he wants to do. And him and Bruce have this really cool, tender moment, and Tim tells Bruce that he still left some stuff at the manor so he can come back when he needs to, and the two of them have a hug, and Bruce says that he's proud of him, which is really great. It's really cool. We get this great little hug moment, which is dope. And then we see Tim Drake in the car with Stephanie Brown, and Stephanie's like, did he buy it? And he's like, Tim Drake tells her, no, of course he didn't buy it. He's Batman. And he would notice that I'm not on the campus anyway. So then we find out that Tim Drake and Stephanie aren't going to the Ivy League. Tim tells Stephanie that he's really excited about all the stuff that her and the others ran into with Brother Eye's computer and the divergent timelines, and he has so many questions, and he has all the time in the world to find these answers. So him and Stephanie are going to look into divergent timelines and some of these things that they discovered from the future Tim Drake's files and the OMAC project, Brother Eye and all that fun stuff. And so the two of them drive off into the sunset, which is really great because they get to have their relationship and their fun, and Tim Drake gets to go off and have a little cool moment and to be unburdened by the bat for a little while. We then see Batman on top of a tower, and Alfred alerts him that Tim and Stephanie, their car is driving in the wrong direction as where the school would be, and Bruce knows that, and he tells Alfred to shut off the tracker in Bruce's car, and that he trusts Tim, and that if Tim needs any help, that he'll definitely come back to him. And Alfred and him discuss kind of what's been happening in this series, how he's been raising and training all these young people to become heroes and the defenders in the next wave in Gotham, and he kind of tells Alfred that he kind of wants to take things back to basics a little bit. And so basically he tells Alfred, hey man, tell Jim Gordon that the bat signal's up in the air and I'll be there in a little bit, and he's going to kind of take it back to basics a little bit more. We're going to get a new team in Batman Detective Comics as the new writer comes in, and I have seen some of the artwork and some of the stuff going on in that, and I've seen characters like Black Lightning pop up in that, which is really cool, and I believe Katana, and it seems like some of the outsiders are going to pop up. Orphan is going to stay in the series as well, and I'm sure some of the other characters are going to come back as well, but some pieces are moving around in DC Comics in general. Azrael's going to be in Justice League Odyssey, and, you know, Tim Drake's off on his adventure, so we'll see what happens. Either way, I think this has been a very great, tremendous run. Check it out in the trades. If you have the single issues and you've been following, then you already know that this is a great series. This has been an amazing run on Detective Comics. It's honestly been my number 2 series in DC Rebirth in general, with my number 1 being The Flash, and my number 3 probably being Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, which are both also tremendous stories that I recommend you check it out as well. If you're not reading those books, you should definitely check them out, because they're and you like this book, you should definitely like those too, because they're all rich in continuity and family and legacy of the characters, and I really like that, and that's why they're my favorite books, is because they're so rich in history, and there's so many ties, and there's so much family and legacy of these characters going on, and that's really great. And that's kind of been a lot of the great things that I liked about this Detective Comics run in general, and I'm very sad to see him leaving and ending his run, but I look forward to see what's happening in the future. Either way, I'm Keith One Shot. Take care, have a great day, and goodbye!